Dudes and dudettes, boys and girls, bros, and my bros, am I right? It's part 3, where we're under the sea of daily 665. Oh, I'm so ready to talk about. I even like the way my face looks. Oh, just once if I rack myself, I gotta do that. Oh, that's my bros. In part 1, we looked at a nice all-in from innovation. And I want to emphasize that said all-in was a response. Crank saw innovation bring the Reaper out. It was a map where it was good to respond with a blink all-in, and it worked. Game 2, a really elegant, clean, easy-to-use, solid play. Harass with the Phoenixes, expand Colossus, +2 blink range, and then gateway units. And we even expand behind our attack. Here, I'm just going to show you a dirty little all-in. Because, you know, part 3 is for the people who have the stay with it power. That's right. For the people who really want to hang out and see the filthiest things on the internet. Get ready, here it comes. That's right. Dude. Crank. The map is Frost. This is a map that a lot of people don't like because it's dissimilar to the ultra-standard, non-interesting, boring maps of the past. And anytime someone is ever confronted with non-standard, boring, dry things... wow, I'm conflating all these words. Listen. The map is unique, and most people do not like unique New Yorks. They like their old standard fare, and when people are faced with things that they do not understand, they tend to go all in from the get-go, as we shall see Crank do. Now, let's see some dirty little moves that we're going to see out of Crank. Let's see those. He's going to go Nexus first on 16. Here's the Crank cam. Now, there's been a whole bunch of research thrown into beating the Immortal Sentry all-in that parting 1 BWC with. This is a little different. As much as I'd like to call this a naked Nexus first, this is actually quite common. On a 2-player map, you go Nexus first with the Forge in the main base. And if the scouting probe, that by the way has been hanging by the watchtower, sees a 6-pool coming, then great. The Nexus is canceled, the cannon is placed, and we get to even keep a Forge at the front. And if he is not 6-pooling, then sweet, we got to go Nexus first. Am I right? Am I right, bros? Am I right, bros? So great, it's not a 6-pool, everything's good in the world, everything's well, and every which way it shall be. You can't get away with no cannon right away here because of the fact that it is such a damn wide open entrance. But you can go for a gateway first, and because you have seen no pool yet, you can go for a double gas first, but then subsequently you have to just boss up and get your damn cannons out. Get your cannons on. Get your cannons on. Ooh, a third base. Always, when you are in early expanding Protoss, you must identify, is the Zerg 3 basing? And if the answer is no, ignore everything I'm about to tell you. And play defensive and don't get out of line and chrono boost your probes. But if he is third basing, then oh boy howdy, it's time to unleash the brutality. Why would someone want to go for a Forge in main base other than this 6-pool reason? Well, a big reason is that you get to hide the fact that you are researching an upgrade. If I go to the Zerg cam, the Zerg can't see it. Oh, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. Thereby making it very difficult for the Zerg to know when this Forge upgrade began. But again, I did mention that there's been a lot of research gone into how to hold off the Immortal Sentry all-in. So most Zerg players are prepared to hold off the Immortal Sentry all-in. Is there yet another attack that would work? that would be so dastardly, so death-defying, and terrifying, and exacerbating, and aggravating, and Protoss-hating. The Crank would be able to pull it out and surprise his opponent. Well, indeed there is. Robotics facility goes down. Where? Not where the Zerg could scout it. We see that there's the usual warp gate stuffs, but there's also a stalker going down. Where's the stalker going to go first? Well, where it should go first is to kill this overlord in the main base. But, you know, you can't win them all, so Crank gets scouted. But that's okay, because this is going to be enough to assume that there is some sort of big attack incoming. And there is, but it's totally kick-ass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What are you noticing is cut? 2 gases here. What are you noticing now that has been cut? Mothership core here. What are you noticing as well? 16 workers mining minerals in the main. About 16 workers mining minerals at the expansion. And that's it. Those are all the things that have been done. Now here's the dastardly bastard trick technique that Crank is going to run up along and down the face of Barcode Zerg. A very fast warp prism. All the pylons get thrown down because even a boss like Crank has to worry about supply block. You can't just shatter through the food supply roof like Chuck Norris. Mothership Core has the convenient job of simply clearing out watchtowers. For why? For what reason? In what way? There's a warp prism coming. Yeah, isn't that nice? Isn't that pretty? Isn't that clean? Mothership Core clears the path for this warp prism to be an asshole. Rather than build the Immortals first and the warp prism later, it's warp prism first and Immortals later. And then these 8 gateways get to morph in a whole lot of zealots in the main. What will often happen is a single force field can go down here and immediately win the entire game. What instead we see Crank do is not overly warp in the main. He doesn't go too hog wild with this battle up on top, up on high. He just loses the zealots and does a little bit of harassment with this. Meanwhile, back home, going for mass zealot sentry immortal. And what's happening on the Zerg side of things can only really be seen if we pull back to right when that third was going down. Let's come to the Zerg cam, and let's make them green. There's a nice green Zerg. So most of the time a Zerg player is going to be going for his gas at kind of a normal time, like 2 gas at 6 minutes. So just go ahead and do that, my friend. Come on. 6 minutes. Oh, they're over here. How embarrassing. That's fine. Throws them down, puts the dudes in the gas geyser, and then scouts this robo facility coming up. A very natural response now is to go, oh crap, I gotta get some sort of defense for this. So I'm gonna go for my layer tech right away with my roaches to deal with the inevitable gateway push. Speed hasn't even begun at this point in time. So look at this, the roach warren just finished. 5 roaches have just begun being produced. And then here's that moment where the Mothership Core moved across. Do you see how fast this warp prism comes? And those 8 gateways are done. It's actually very impressive to me that the Zerg player had the wherewithal to be able to deal with this attack. But do note, in the meantime, this has just been started. Zergling speed is not yet done. In fact, Zergling speed is not yet started. And our Zerg buddy kind of has to rely on only roaches. And that's really the goal of Crank's entire attack. This can win, but most of the time it is designed to force an overly roach-heavy, or I should say overly unit-heavy response, thereby negating the Zerg's ability to have enough funds to hold off the follow-up attack. So then he just goes for the big attack. Mothership Core still clearing the way for the big attack. And then the War Prism pulls back from the harass, 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 harass. To kill everything. Whoa. To kill everything that he knows. Do, 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 do. I want to take a look at the Structures tab. Roach Warren Evolution Chamber and 3 hatcheries. There's 2 there and there. In production, nothing but the roaches. In the unit count, 54 drones. That big early attack forced the Zerg player to not get enough things. And now we have 3 Immortals and a bunch of Zealots against a bunch of Roaches, so we're having a grand old time. War Prism mostly should be used to micro in and out the Immortals, but if you can both micro the Immortals in and out and warp in, then kudos. Your name's Crank. Don't you feel cheesy? Well, you should. You don't even have any gas that you should. I rhyme should with should, now that's cheesy. And then he just wins with that. And most Zerg players are just hating me right now, so that's great. Let's take questions. Let us take the questions. So to sum up what I've been talking about, in parts 1 and 2, it was starting stably. Part 1 showed how to begin stably, identify a weakness, and then how to transition from your stable opening into an all-in based on what you see. And then number 2, part 2, we got the chance to see was just an elegant, clean, easy start to finish sexy play, and in part 3 we learned to be an asshole. Utori Kyoyo says, Day 9 is Protoss. How often can you consider cutting corners as an effective strategy? Perhaps I haven't been as clear about this as I need to be, but you should always be looking to cut as many corners as you can. And to make sure that that's sort of clearly defined, I would say that if you step to the 15-minute mark, the 12-minute mark of a game, and look at all the stuff that a player has. Like, if you look at Protoss at the 12-minute mark versus Zerg, it's going to be 3 bases. Robotech's probably going to be pretty well developed. A Twilight Council's going to be done. +2 is probably going to be on the way. It's probably going to be like 6 to 10 gateways, somewhere in that range. There's going to be a cannon and forge at the front, all those sorts of things. And some of the stuff, and all that will generally be there, but some of that stuff was built early on to let you stay alive, such as in a Protoss versus Protoss, getting an extra gateway, or getting an extra unit, or getting an extra cannon, or getting a mothership core early, or getting warp gate early so you can get warp gate units out. All these are defensive tools. I mean, you're still going to wind up getting them no matter what, even if your opponent doesn't attack you and you go, oh, cool, shit, I'm saying this wrong. A lot of those things are used early as defensive tools, and that's why people get them, is to defend. However, often, because we see players throw down a forge and a cannon so often, it just becomes autopilot for us. Well, of course I would go forge cannon. So when I say cutting corners, that's a reference to avoiding spending money on those defensive things and accelerating some of our other things. So an example would be, I'm always going to get a forge and a cannon, but I might cut that in order to get a Stargate faster, but then later on I'll get the forge and the cannon, because I kind of need that at some point. Oh yeah, big shout out, of course, to Awesome Games Done Quick that I was staying up very late watching last night. They're running right now. Just go to twitch.tv, it's right there on the main page. They do great work there. I was watching last night the Halo 2 speedrun, which was fantastic. I think it's Mr. Minestrone was running it. Really, really pleasant, cheerful run with a lot of sweet moves. Loved it. And then I watched the start of Metal Gear Solid. I was way too late last night, by the way. Great question from Tickle Monster. Day 9, I'm a Gold League player, and I am also wondering if you have any useful advice for staying motivated on the ladder, say after a 5-ish game losing streak. Great question. It's so easy to become demotivated when you suffer from those losses. But keep in mind, you don't have to play ultra serious 1v1s for every game. Here is what I do if I go on a losing streak, which everybody does. And like half the solution is to try to figure out what it is that annoys you and bothers you and try to think of when your mind is becoming frustrated and why. Are you angry at yourself? Are you angry because you felt hopeless in the game? Are you angry because there's a unit you're struggling with? And be able to reflect on that and to deal with that. But the other half, I think, is way more important. Go play some 4v4s with friends. Tristan, who's actually hiding behind this green screen, he and I play 2v2s, and it's amazingly fun. And yeah, I'll go and play 1v1s and have good win streaks and be like, yeah, that was awesome. And there's days when I don't even want to play 1v1s. I have been on a lost streak, and I'll play 2v2s with Tristan and have just a good time, and we'll do dumb strategies and go double 6 pool and cannon rush with, yeah, we're assholes. But listen, well, it's really fun. And if I'm on a losing streak, and I've lost like 10 games in a row, I'll just take a break for like 10 minutes, and then I'll go play 2v2s. Or I'll go play 4v4s and Almana battle. Look, just go play a 4v4 and Mass Queen. Mass Queen Spine. It's fine. Go play Mana battles. It's great. I actually warm up with 4v4s a lot. We'll take one more. Is there any question? Oh, great. White Brat says, Day 9, I was wondering what the Zerg could have possibly done better to defend against the attack. Scout the natural gas, we had a better idea of what exactly was coming. Yes. Abso-very-freaking yes. Always scout the natural gas. I do think that this Zerg in particular, Korean Barcode, did see that the gas was there, did have a good understanding of what was happening, and lost anyways. And I think that the answer to how to hold off this follow-up attack is much more subtle. Some of the answers would probably revolve around getting a good chunk more lings, getting a better angle, maybe not getting an earlier +1 attack. I mean, it's really, really hard to tell. Because, I mean, I think maybe even just letting the expansion die and trying to pick off as many zealots as he could. He didn't really have to stay there and fight and keep that natural alive because he's a 54 drones. He can probably still stash rated just fine. But honestly, this is one of the hardest problems in the game, and it all depends on how you're opening. Whatever. I'm just gonna dodge it. Oh, Ghost Stalker 88. That's how the playtest went last night. So good. Oh, it was fun. Oh, it was good. I felt good about it. Oh, on the playtest last night when we're battling it out in Project Atlas, I was just like, ooh.